You can be creative in almost anything you do, but often at times you can find yourself in a position where you have to be creative in a subject that just doesn't engage you or excite you. If you don't do anything about it, that's just how things will stay. And some people can look past that, and I did for quite a while. But I started to remember what it felt like to actually work on something that I truly enjoyed. It got me thinking back to when I was at school, and my favorite subject was product design, where you could literally design and just create anything. And typically, if you didn't glue the tools to the table or set fire to something in the workshop, you could be left to design something of your own. So I made this coffee table almost 10 years ago now in my final year at school, and we made a folder that came along with it. And just looking back through it, it just kind of reminded me of that whole process of, sketching, concept design, making a prototype, buying the materials and coming up with something and putting it all together. And that feeling was, very special to me. It was something I really enjoyed. But the thing is, I finished the table, and after that I went to university and I studied a subject called civil engineering, which didn't quite interest me, in a way that this did. And I stuck at it. And after that, I went to work in construction for 6 years in London as well. And during that whole time, those 9 years, I just couldn't find that same feeling I had when I was working on something like this. And I couldn't find the time or the balance to search for it either. So I spent a long time thinking about what I could do. And I finally came up with a plan, which is quite outlandish. It was to cycle all of Italy and all of Scotland, travel through the entire country by bike, and to document the entire journey through filming, photography, and writing. So content creation is just one of the best outlets for creativity because it's just endless. You can do content on anything. So I figured that was probably the best chance to find something that would bring this feeling back, and it would be something I enjoyed, and people can create careers out of it. So if I could find the thing that was for me in content creation and make a career out of it, that would be kind of like the end goal. That would be the thing I was looking for. And if it didn't work out, and if I couldn't quite find that same feeling and enjoyment in making content, I would have done something extremely challenging, and I would have cycled around 2 beautiful countries, which would have been enough for me, to be honest, and anything extra is a bonus. So slowly I accumulated all the gear I needed, so buying secondhand camera equipment, buying the bicycle, buying the bike equipment. I bought this camera secondhand, a Panasonic GH5, and I would go out after work and I just kind of learn how to use it and just shoot around London, in like Soho, in that central area. And the pictures weren't anything special, but I had fun doing it, and created some of these pictures that I do enjoy. So after a few months I quit, and I just wanted to force kind of that hard reset. And the month after, I was cycling Italy. I was going around, like the Dolomites, the lakes, to the coast, and I pretty much covered the 10 most northern regions of Italy. And I had to come back to the UK, and I'm going to be going back out on the 7th of March to cycle the south. So all the way down to Puglia on the east, the beach, and then to Sicily and Sardinia, the islands, and that will pretty much be the entire country covered. On the first portion of the journey, I've taken over 10,000 photos and a lot of videos, and I've just been trying to put together some media in terms of like a photo book, videos, prints, and just kind of explore what actually interests me. You can see my content's kind of all over the place. That's because I'm still searching for something that really engages me and will hit that spark of knowing that that's what I want to do. The thing is, like, if you don't start and you spend all that time just thinking, like what could be the most profitable, what could be the most sustainable, you can spend forever doing that. And I spent years doing that in London, just trying to come up with something. It took me a while to come up with this plan to cycle all of Italy and Scotland, even though it kind of sounds like off a whim, like you just came up with it and then, it's done. But it was quite a bit of planning and thinking about what would be something that I wanted to do, actually engage with. I remember that I was watching a video by Martin Doulard, and I was looking down at the comments, and he was doing like this big cycle ride. I was looking down at the comments, and people were saying things like, "Oh, that's ridiculous! Like, I'd never do something like this." And there were so many comments kind of like reiterating that point that no one would do that. And I was thinking, like, I'd do that. I'd cycle around a full country, travel on bike for months at a time. And it just got me thinking. I was like, why don't I do it? And that's when I just started planning of, where would I do it? and I got Italian heritage and I'm learning Italian, and I still have family over there. And I had this dream of one day buying a cabin in Italy, like a decrepit one, and just renovating that to a point where, you know, I could live in it. And all that stuff kind of pulled together to, you know, cycle the country. And that's the same thing with Scotland as well, like the same kind of principles there. So when I came up with that, you know, you look at it and you think, you know, would that work? But the thing is, like, I said that for almost everything I ever looked at, you know, like drop shipping, copyright, you know, all those kind of avenues that you could pursue to, you know, potentially make an income. And you just have to pick something, and it won't feel right instantly, you know, like it didn't feel right for me, but it felt like a hell of a lot better than what I was doing before. So I kind of knew I was on the right path. So I'd love to work with my hands again, like a project like the table, and that's where that cabin in Italy comes in. You know, it would be a big kind of renovation project, making it my own, you know, owning the land, the cabin. But you do have to be careful, especially in foreign countries where you may not understand the language and the stipulations completely, because there could be kind of clauses that say that you can't change certain things, or you need to hire a local builder to do, you know, the majority of the work. So that will kind of take away from that personal aspect of it, and it will cost a lot. So there's a lot of research to be done there, and I will be making more videos on that as I do my research. And another goal at some point is to buy a van and, you know, renovate that into like a camper, just kind of like a nice project. But those two are just extremely kind of large and require a lot of effort and money. I probably need to start smaller, do another table, something like that. The thing is, it's just choosing. You just have to choose something, and I still struggle with that to this day, you know, picking the right thing. But I've just learned that you just have to do some brainstorming and don't spend too long doing it, and then just pick something. That is the message for the video, along with all the other stuff I said. Ciao!